And so you talk about awe and happiness, and um, they're related in my opinion. Awe gives you happiness. Awe is the moments that you're happiest, because you're just looking at the world in a way that's just it's opening you up to just what's possible. Why should we commit to awe?
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of an underpinning of the whole book with this idea that, well, first off, mindset, the 6 inches between our ears is the reason why we succeed or don't succeed. And so with that as the backdrop, and again, this is regardless if it's, you or I or someone working a 9 to 5 who's trying to achieve their goals, or even an Olympian, it's still, that mindset that we bring is really what's going to make us or break us. And the really, at first kind of depressing thing in midlife is how I open the book with this U-shaped happiness curve, which, Professor David Blanchflower at Dartmouth University goes around the world, and 135 countries, they measure all these indices of happiness and realize that it doesn't matter if you're in America, South America, Europe, Asia, by midlife in our between 41 to 48, effectively, we have this dip, our lowest point of the happiness index, which on the surface sounds a little bit like, oh, geez, really? That sounds like a long time, 7 years. But really, it more than likely reflects the fact that we're just at our busiest, right? We've got all these demands on our time, we're sleeping less, etc. Now, why is that important to this whole conversation? Well, if we know that, let's say, if you don't sleep sufficiently, if you don't get that at least 7 hours a night, it's more difficult to disengage from negative thoughts. So now you wake up in the morning, you think, well, forget that. I'm not getting up to run because, we can make up an excuse, right? It gets harder now to build the habits that we need. And so this is one of the major roadblocks we see with clients in midlife, is that, the mindset is such that we're sort of stuck in this bit of a rut, if you will, or we've tried to achieve those weight loss goals, those health goals so many times that as soon as something goes wrong, or as soon as we get to a roadblock, it's like a loop that plays back in our minds, and we start self-sabotaging and thinking it's not going to work out. And so, this connection to awe is really, how do we, rather than this progression of, if I achieve the promotion, if I achieve the weight loss goal, if I achieve my dream of the Olympics, then I get to happiness. The cool thing, again, from a performance standpoint, is in elite sport, they're flipping that whole model to say, how do we create happiness in this person to then allow them to express their potential? Because even if you achieve your weight loss goal, guess what happens tomorrow morning? You still need to wake up and do something. You still need to eat something. You still need to train a certain way. Like there's, the world keeps moving. And so how do we build that mindset? How do we start to reshape, how we think and how we feel, whether it's optimism, self-talk, all these types of things. And this is where we circle back to this conversation around awe, because I think even with the backdrop of the latest pandemic, we've seen how people's moods have been impacted. And so what's the easiest way to impact, mood and happiness? And when we look, there's two components to happiness. One of them is life satisfaction, which is effectively, how satisfied are you with your life? And that actually does trend really closely with your income, right? So you tend to be more satisfied with your life if you have higher earning power. But the other part of happiness is the subjective part, which means, are you happy in your life? And that actually has no correlation with income. It might, in fact, when you get to a high enough bracket, it actually impacts negatively. Yeah. And so the crazy part about awe, which is, awe is basically just walking out into nature, forests, seeing mountains and ocean, even pictures of it. Awe is even listening to like a song that really resonates for you, or a speech that makes you feel a certain way. And that actually triggers both aspects. It's a positive emotion. It triggers both aspects of happiness.